Somebody asked me a question. Anthem 1140 versus an AVM90. Is there a difference? Does the sound better? Is it worth the upgrade? I will say this because there's a couple things I want to say because I found out some information. I don't know if I can tell you, but as far as the 1140 and the AVM90, I've got both, and for a long period of time, I was really satisfied with the 1140. I'm still satisfied. That's why I still have it. I think it's really good. Very good sound separation. I think it handles everything well, other than like it's finicky, right? So depending on the television you have, you could have like input issues, like at times, like switching inputs. The LG G4. Sometimes it struggles with it, but as far as like other televisions and stuff, you don't really have many issues with the 1140. The issue I don't like about the 1140, right, is that it controls the Atmos speakers. The ceiling speakers are controlled with a separate, I think, amp, because I think that it's got a toroidal amplifier in there, and then there's like a second amp or something like that that controls the Atmos speakers, and I think it only gives you close to like, I think 60 watts a channel, like on the Atmos speakers. And I don't like that, you know what I mean? Because, you know, with a processor, you have like full capability to where like you can, you know, run as much wattage or whatever to your Atmos speakers that you want. You know what I mean? Sometimes you don't want to run too much depending on what you got. Some people have box speakers as the Atmos speakers. Some people have SVS, what are they called? Like Evolution speakers. Some people have in-wall speakers. It's a lot of different things you have. And depending on the speakers you have, sometimes they require more wattage, right? And the Anthem 1140, my issue with it is that it, you know, it only gave you like 60 watts, which you don't really need too much to run Atmos, but I want to be able to have, like, in my mind, knowing that, you know, I can get the most out of my amplifier, you know, and with the 1140, you're kind of capped, you know, but everything else, like, it sounds good, it runs good, but when I went to the AVM90, the restriction, you don't have it because you have, you know, amplifiers running like each individual channel. You've got a different channel on your amplifier to run each channel. So immediately I felt more immersed, right? Like the Atmos speakers felt like they were more active, which they weren't really more active. It's just the speakers have more power, you know, available to them to where they can articulate the best that they can with the separates processor. Right. So that was one thing that I noticed. The second thing I noticed from the 1140 and the AVM90, the bass extension seemed to be a little bit more full, right? To where I think Arc Genesis, I think it only calibrates down to 13 hertz, if I'm not mistaken. But you still feel like more enveloping, like a full like bass. You know, where you kind of got to turn the bass up on the 1140 to kind of feel that. But I think that comes down to more the DACs that are used and the circuitry and the capacitors, the resistors, everything. You're going to get a cleaner signal and a cleaner sound from the AVM90 versus the 1140, right? Another difference I noticed, like, in the movie Ghost in the Shell with Scarlett Johansson, there's a scene where it's in the very beginning of the movie where she's like standing on top of the building. This is before she like jumps down, right? There's a HVAC system or like a fan that's on the ground, right? You kind of notice it a little bit, but you know, everything is geared towards Scarlett Johansson, like on that scene. So you know it's there, but you don't really notice it. On the AVM90, when the camera pans and is getting close to Scarlett Johansson and you're passing that HVAC or that fan, the fan is loud. Like, and you're you know what I mean? You're paying attention to it because it just took that sound that was in the back and it pushed it forward like dramatically, you know what I mean? Like, so it's just like, wow, you know, I didn't really notice that before. And then you go back and you watch the same scene on the 1140, take the disc, and I've got two UB820 players. I got a Kaleidoscape. Sometimes I'll take the Kaleidoscape, put it in another room, and, you know, and it kind of A/B test it. And it's more, the sounds that are in the background are pushed forward in your face more, right? Because of the better circuitry, better capacitors, better resistors, better DACs. You know, you hear a lot more, right? Even when there's a scene, and I'm just using this one with Ghost in the Shell, after she jumps through the window, right? And then there's glass all over the floor. When she's walking, you hear the glass, right? You hear like parts of the glass, like when she's walking on the 1140. It sounds really good, very cohesive. The sound warm, like very, very good sound, right? On the AVM90, you can hear different parts of the glass moving, right? So you might hear when she's moving with the 1140. With the AVM90, you hear the like the different parts of the glass, or however they mixed it. Like if they broke a bottle and and the person who's doing the sound is walking through the glass, you hear, let's say there's a shard of glass, you hear each part of it breaking with the AVM90, whereas the 1140, you hear parts, a part of the glass breaking, right? Or if I'm watching, let's just say John Wick, right? And they're in a shootout, you can hear shell casings falling, right? Like let's just say there's 5 people shooting. You might hear 2, maybe 3 people's shell casings falling, maybe, right? On the AVM90, you hear everybody's shell casings falling. And you hear the texture of the shell casing that is falling, right? It's not just it's like you hear more body in the shell casing. Or like when you're watching like a movie like 13 Hours, it's a war film, right? And the 1140, you feel the bullet impact, depending on your subwoofer, the system you got, all of that, you feel that. But with the AVM90, it's more like you hear and feel the bullets, and it's like the bullets just have more depth, I would say. You know what I mean? Or like just let's just say Top Gun Maverick, right? Since everybody wants to run that, I don't know, it's like a nostalgic thing. A lot of old people like it, but it sounds good, right? On the AVM90, it sounds good, decent on the 1140. When they get to a point, it's like towards the end, and it's like the main mission. When Tom Cruise pulls back on the joystick on the F-18 or whatever, and they're going up, right? And they gotta try to make it out of this mountain, right? You can hear the stress of like the A-frame or whatever it's called, like on the jet. You can hear the stress that's going on the 1140, right? But on the AVM90, you hear the stress on the A-frame. You know what I mean? Or the frame of the jet. Like you hear it's just rattling like crazy. So it's like everything is more pronounced and put forward. Like you hear it, but it's like, sometimes like a movie like Top Gun Maverick, you might, see people talk about it. You're just like, yeah, man, this movie is not like that crazy, right? Like on the Denon I had, didn't really sound that great. It sounded okay, right? The Marantz, it sounded okay. It didn't sound bad. It didn't sound great. The 1140, it sounds good. On the AVM90, it's like, wow. Like, I didn't know this is what people were talking about. You know what I mean? Like, when you can hear the stress of these aircrafts. Like, even when they're just flying, you can hear the metal or the metal bending. Like, you hear it. Or another example I can give you is the movie Interstellar, right? When they go into the wormhole. This is the biggest differentiator between a good processor, okay processor, and a bad processor, right? Or a good receiver, bad receiver, same, right? And the 1140 or the Marantz Cinema 50 or the Anthem 1140, when they go into the wormhole, you hear instruments moving, you hear the ship stresses on the ship, you can hear metal objects, you can hear all of that, right? On the AVM90, it's like every little thing you can hear is pushed forward with all the big things that you hear. So it's just like a more 3D holographic, make you feel like you're in that ship with Matthew McConaughey feeling with the AVM90. It's just like, whoa, like, you know what I mean? And it's like everything in your room is like turned up a notch. You know what I'm saying? You don't have to turn the volume up too much to hear like everything. You know what I mean? It's just there in your face. Or like if you hear that with I want to really stick to 1140 and the AVM90. You hit it with the trend off, it's like it's in your face. The AVM90 is going to give you an in your face feel, like with those scenes, or like when the ship stops, or like when they go into the planet, right? The stressors on the AVM90, like you can hear, like on the ship with the AVM90, is just more intense. The water is just more, like the little minute sounds of the water are big on the AVM90, whereas on the 1140, a lot of that stuff is there, you know, but if you want to make it big, you really got to crank up the system. Whereas like the AVM90 is just, you know, at a -24, it's just, you know what I'm saying? It's just there. It's big. Like every sound is big, you know. Or there's a movie. What is it? I always talk about this one, Brightburn, right? A character named Brandon in Brightburn. He plays like Superman, right? The young Superman. Well, he gets to a point where he comes home, right? And he starts flying through the house and he's screaming at the top of his lungs, right? On the 1140, you hear it. You know what I'm saying? It's like, it's there. You know, it's very good sound separation. Everything's there. It's good, right? But then when you hear it on the AVM90, it's like you're in that room. You know what I mean? It's like, I guess that's the best way I could describe it. It's like the 1140 is reproducing the sounds very well and smooth with good bass. And it's like, it's very good. Like, you can tell the processor is good. Like, it's utilizing my speakers very well, right? But the AVM90 puts me in that room. You know, that's how I feel. Like, it's like, whoa, it's like every little sound, like when he hits through the drywall, you can hear the drywall, however they mix the sound, the drywall breaking and him going through the drywall, through the brick of the house or whatever, like or the exterior of the house, you hear that. Whereas on the 1140, you hear him go through the wall. But on the AVM90, you hear the texture and everything going through the wall, as best as I can describe it. Another thing with the 1140 versus the Anthem AVM90, music sounds incredible on the AVM90, right? To the point where I've heard a lot of hi-fi Rose systems and a lot of things, 2-channel systems. I go to all these conventions, and the AVM90 gives you a very good holographic, like, sound with music, and it's very full and it's very crisp, and it's like everything, like the artist's voices in music is just, it's there, and it's in your face. It's amazing. You know what I'm saying? 1140 music doesn't really sound too impressive. You might think it sounds impressive until you get an AVM90, right? And then it's a different story. You know, it's just, it's way different. And then that transitions into movies, right? Movies have music in them. So, and on the AVM90, the music is pushed forward. You know what I'm saying? So a lot of times your Atmos speakers are going to be utilized as, you know, to scale up the music, right? Or to make the music feel a little bit more full. That's like more present on the AVM90. So yeah, the box may look the same. And only visual differences is, you know, maybe the AVM90 has 4 subwoofer outs versus the 2 on the 1140, and then the AVM90 has the XLR inputs or whatever, and you know, it's just, you know, the little differences, right? But I mean, the internals is where it's really at. You know what I mean? So it's, and I know the 1140 is like $4,200, whereas the AVM90 is like $7,500. Now, is it worth $7,500? It depends on how you look at it, because like how I'm looking at it now, why I think it could be worth close to that. And I pay like $6,900 for mine, right? No, I'm sorry, $5,900, and I got it like after taxes like $6,400 or something like that. But is it worth it? This is how I look at it. I listen to music too. I'm not a big music listener, but I do listen to music, right? To get that sound that you're gonna get from an AVM90, you have to get like it sounds better than an Ever Solo. Like the top Ever Solo sounds better than that. Like it sounds like close to a Hi-Fi Rose. And this is an AVM90. This is a theater processor, and it sounds that good. I've heard like an AVM70, a little bit of one, and it doesn't sound that good. You know, it sounds good. It sounds better than like a 1140 a little bit, but like AVM90 is like it's like a big level jump audio wise. You know, so like I like the 1140 enough to where I kept it. You know what I'm saying? But the AVM90 was just, it was so crazy sounding to me. Like, I still, like, when I watch a movie, I might be in a family movie, we might watch a movie, I'm like, man, I want to hear this again, but I want to hear what I missed, right? So I take the movie into the room with the AVM90 and I listen, and it's stuff that I missed. Like, even though the 1140 did really well, it's still some sounds that it couldn't reproduce as forward as the AVM90. Now, you can make 1140 sound clearer. You know, you can use the app, you can increase the treble or whatever, and it can sound clearer, but it still struggles to reproduce some like minute sounds as easily as the AVM90 does. So like if you go from 1140 and you hear a trend off, right? You're going to hear a trend off's going to push things forward, and the AVM90 does kind of the same thing. You know, so I mean, I could go through movies after Transformers, like when they're, you know, like pick a Transformers movie. It's just like when they're transforming, you hear every little thing on the metal, you know, whereas like the 1140, you hear it, but like the AVM90 makes you feel like you're in that room when that Transformer is transforming. You know what I'm saying? So that's my thoughts on it. Is it worth it? It's subjective. How much money do you have? You know, disposable money. I think the 1140 is really good. You know what I'm saying? I think it blows a lot of these other processors, receivers out of the water. Even some processors, the 1140 receivers sound better than. You know, so it's very good. You know, I do feel like they made it a little bit too good, the 1140, because sometimes I do think like I could have just got like another 1140 and saved a lot of money. You know, because it's that good. You know, once you tweak it and adjust the treble and the bass how you want it, you know, it's that good. You know, it does make you wonder, like, you know, did they make it too good? But the AVM90, I mean, it's really, it's impressive. It's very impressive. You know, and then like, you know, you have to ask yourself, are your speakers like really articulate? Right? Because I've listened to it on a lot of AVM90 on a lot of different speakers. My speakers, I've got in a room I got it hooked up to R700s. Really love those speakers for music and stuff like that. But I've heard it on Paradigms. I've heard it like with different like systems and different speakers, power sound audio speakers, different speakers, and it sounds like very good. Like how clear and articulate it is, like with everything. Even though I think I can hear everything with my speakers, like when I put different speakers on the AVM90, I'm blown away even more, you know, and that's what kept me from getting the trade off. I'm like, this thing is just insane, you know what I mean? But like, is it worth the upgrade? I have a feeling in 2 years they're probably going to come out with an AVM100. I have a feeling. I go to a lot of places and I hear things. I don't know. I have a feeling, you know, if you could wait, maybe wait. The only thing I don't like about the AVM90, it doesn't have DTS:X Pro. And I talked to Anthem Paradigm, and they said that the hardware limitation is what's limiting that. You know what I mean? To where they can't put the DTS:X Pro on, which I got a feeling they just want to sell you another processor. So the next one will have it. And I kind of heard a roundabout way, you know, through different people, you know, hearing things to make me think that, you know, in a couple years, there could be like a AVM100 that could have all of those things. But as far as like, if you're not running wide channels, which I don't, because not much content comes through there unless you use DTS:X Pro. You know, I'm cool with the AVM90. You know, I think I'll be cool with it for a while. It sounds really good. Even when you pair it up with KEF speakers, like it sounds good. Like it's insane. It's really insane. You know what I'm saying? So shout out to Anthem, shout out to everybody, you know, but that's the difference. You know, do I hear a difference? Yes. Is it worth it? It's up to you and your budget. But if you can sell, if you're only looking for one, and you could sell the 1140, do that. You know what I'm saying? And then get you already have the amps, then get the AVM90. You know, but that's my thoughts on it. I'm out. Comment, rate, subscribe. Let me know what y'all think about that. Peace.